this is our winning principle number 3. Here I will talk about using reserve tempi in the endgame. So, if opponent holds opposition in pawn endgames, if you have some spare tempi, reserve tempi with your pawns, you can do waiting move with your pawn to force opponent to move the king to invade with your own king. Here, first example is not so famous game Trindade Cornin, but I found it for you because it perfectly explains our concept. What's going on here? Situation on the queen side is blocked. No one can do anything with pawns, and there are no reserve tempi. On the king side, white has 2 reserve tempis. Well, one is this f3, and after f3 you can do even f4. You can do f4 immediately, but what I want to say is it's better to keep reserve tempi. So white invades with a piece, with the king, black blocks, and white played king f3, hopes black will play king f6 to get spare tempo, but black didn't fall into it. What's going on here? Here, don't play f4, because now your king would be blocked and you can do just nothing. Correct is f3, like in main line, and you win. And what happened in main line? What happened in the game? King f7. One may say distant opposition. Okay, it is switched to normal, short opposition. King f4, king f6. And white has 2 reserve tempi. You spend 1 tempo to force opponent to move the king. He moves, you invade. He defends, you invade. And you play f4. After king f7, this, and now, of course, don't follow opposition forever. Just play king g8. Point of opposition is to invade when he cannot get opposition. Black cannot play king g6. Black must leave the pawn. King goes to e-file, king g7, and white wins. But here we need to explain what happens after that invasion. Let me remind you, white played f3. What happens if black plays f4? White must take, and after king f6, this. If king f7, now he cannot come with king to f5, you take, and after this you win. Or if g5 is played, here practically sacrificing the pawn to promote, you will promote first with g6 and g7. And after king h7, king f5, no problem. You win in all variations. Black can take on d4, but you are much faster and you win the game. You are much faster. So once again, white wins the game because he has 2 spare tempi. 1 spare tempo is used to kick opponent king back in opposition f4 to f6, and other is spent to win in opposition with king on f6 and h6. So with 2 winning tempi, white has enough exactly tempi to twice force opponent king to move. Once again, briefly, king must move. Other opposition, king must move, and game is over. Yeah, in that opposition, in that situation, it is important to say black cannot play this to catch opposition this way, because you will invade here and you will win the game. That's how opposition works. Practically, you get opposition because you have 2 reserve tempi. Enough for example number 1. Let's go to example number 2. Next situation is fragment from game Pop-Danov, Albania, Bulgaria, 1978. One may say presence of double pawns in white army is defect where they cannot advance. Maybe that would be fact. That would be fact for sure. With black on the move, he will play h5 and block these pawns, having enough of extra tempi. But here, paradoxically, Black has pawns on initial squares that can give him the choice, but white wins the game because white plays g4. Remember that concept. Whenever it's possible, I'm talking mostly about endgames, of course. Whenever that's possible, move your upper double pawn. By this, moving that upper double pawn, you will be able to get another spare tempo. So now, without g4, you can move only one pawn. After g4, you formally have choice. You can move both pawns, and after g4, you can actually do waiting move with pawn g2 to g3. And here, let's see what happened in the game. First, to say such king c4 move doesn't work because white will promote first. If king c5, king e5, and white pawn goes to queen. And if black plays something else, he must make choice of other of pawn moves. a6 was played. That would be same like in the game as b6, because that changes nothing specifically. Let's see what happened in the game. a6, a5. And now if black plays g5, white wins with g3. Black is in Zugzwang. If black plays g6, white sacrifices the pawn, where white pawn g2 has choice of two moves. If h5, g3, black is in Zugzwang. If h takes, then g4, and black is in Zugzwang. Here, black decided to resign. So, as soon as possible, as fast as possible, advance your upper double pawn, let's say like this, to get a new chance for your pawn that stays behind it. Here, g4, practically forced win for white because white stayed with g2 to g3 extra spared tempo. That would be all for that Zugzwang situation in our example number 2. Let's go to example number 3. Let's go to final example number 3, in that our third winning principle, where we talk about reserve tempi. Game Paoli-Michel, 1950, played in Vienna, and white here well calculated that king d4 forcing king e6 would bring him win after a4. That's the only winning move. Keep now your eyes on that move, and remember the concept. In such situations, if there is mutual Zugzwang and you need to win because you have more spare tempi, you need to make situation you will have more reserve tempi. In such situations, it is always good to advance pawn that is already advanced. Don't play b3, don't play b4, advance the pawn that is already advanced. By playing a4, your pawn b2 stays on initial square with right to choose one or two squares to advance, and your pawn a4 will get, let's say, some clash against opponent pawns, keeping them on distance and allowing pawn b2 to go to b2 or b3. Now no of black pawns can block that pawn, and that is winning. And let's check. Black played b6, same time he resigned because white has just possible continuation can be h4. White has spare tempi on the queen side. He wants to determine situation, to define situation on the king side. And here, for instance, b4 can be played. Whatever black plays, white will just block, and that is easy win. Here if black plays a5, no worries. b3, and whatever black plays, white will block. So what if black plays something else instead of b6? If a6, a5, and that is easy to see that white wins. If a5, again h4, symmetry. Black plays on the king side, you block. Black plays on the queen side, and you have that spare tempo that will bring you win. So a5 is losing. What else? G5 again leads to defeat after A5. Now white has reserve tempi on both sides and then brings easy win. And we checked everything. H5 is also option, but here white can take. And advance A5, we already noted. We already know that if H4, H3, B6, taking, B3, white wins. If black plays B6 immediately, here taking, and even H4, B5, B4 wins. So in all cases, white wins after A4. Remember, advanced pawn that is already removed from initial position, and that will bring you more reserve tempi with your pawns that will stay behind it. Here white played A4, keeping reserve tempi for B pawn with B3, B4, and that helped him to win game instantly. Well, now I think you are fully equipped with the principle of spending reserve tempi to win in pawn endgames, and we can go to our next winning principle to see what's going on there. That would be all for our winning principle number 3.